Tatti and Louie B, TSN 1150 Hamilton, TSN 1150.ca. Also available on the TSN and iHeartRadio app. Let's bring in our good friend Mike Morreale. Always a pleasure, Mike. How are you?
Not bad, guys. How you doing?
Good. Oh, we're driving. Oh.
We are driving. You know, I had to fit you in somewhere. I didn't want to leave you hanging.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Keep your eyes on the road. Let me throw this at you. I don't think there's much difference in how the Cats are playing now as opposed to when they were losing, like maybe in the Ottawa game and a couple of those games where they just didn't come up with the key play at the right time, which they are now. Would you agree with that?
I agree that this team plays away from being a winner or plays away from being a loser. And, you know, yesterday was a great indication. There were times in the game when they played just outstanding. There's times in the game that they made the same similar type mistakes they've been making all year. But that's football. You know, when you get 2 points and you look, you know, back in time at the wins, you don't really think about how the game unfolded. You just think about the fact it was a victory. So the Cats are a good football team, and they are, you know, in my opinion, in line with all the top teams in the CFL. And when they choose to, you know, not make some of those similar mistakes they make at, you know, inopportune times, they're going to be a team that's going to be well above 500 and the team that has the potential to, you know, come out of the East as a Grey Cup contender.
If the one thing that seems to plague the Ticats, though, continually is timely penalties, and they seem to have figured out in the second half, but there was a second quarter drive that just seemed to get them. What is it? Can that be coached out? I mean, what can they do? Is it a problem until it's not?
Well, I wish there was an easy solution to it. I mean, what happens is you have so many players that step foot on the football field, and every single one of them knows they have a job to do, and every single one of them does their best effort to do that job. But inevitably, someone's going to make mistakes somewhere along the line, and a lot of them go unnoticed. But you know, occasionally there's ones that happen at the most, you know, the worst times, I guess. And you know, you try to coach a discipline. I mean, you can't just hammer these guys over the head and say, if you do something wrong, you're fined, or you got to do extra laps, or you do whatever. I don't think anybody does it on purpose. But yesterday was the indication of getting up early, coming up the gate strong, letting the Argos back into it, regaining, you know, some traction, you know, giving a little bit back with that, fumble for a touchdown, and then turning their game back on to where they started. So if you look at how they started and how they finished, that's the mark of a terrific football team. There were some stuff that happened in between that, you know, you shake your head at, but at the same time, all that matters is that 2 points. The fact it came against Toronto, an Eastern opponent on Labor Day, is fantastic, and it makes for fans and guys like you and I and everyone else alike that talk about the game, something positive to talk about rather than pick on the negatives.
Well, let's go to the TSN turning point, both in yesterday's game and the one against Edmonton. Against Edmonton, it was the entire second half. In this one, it was late in the third quarter after giving up 2 touchdowns, including a fumble that got reversed 105 yards. I mean, these are the game against Edmonton didn't seem like it was going to go that way, but it spread out over an entire half. This comeback yesterday was, I don't know if unexpected is the right word, but certainly it seemed to come out of nowhere.
It was far, in my opinion, far more dominant of a win than I've seen. You know, with the exception of the Edmonton game in Edmonton, I really felt like the Ticats controlled the game from the start. They controlled the game in the end in a very dominant fashion. I figure if there was another quarter to that game, they would have run more roughshod over the Argos. It was just that they started to get their vibe. I think, you know, Alex Green had a terrific game. Jeremiah Masoli threw the ball very well. Of course, Brandon Banks and Luke Tasker were just phenomenal. It's really amazing. I watch Brandon Banks and what he does without the football, and you see a really strong, energetic, hard-working football player on every down, and that's a big difference maker for this Ticats. So they were more dominant than I think they've been all year, and hopefully that translates into future dominance as well.
Mike, there were a lot of people who called out the Ticats on the Johnny Manziel trade, thinking that he was the quarterback of the future, that he was more talented than Jeremiah Masoli. And people, up until last week, I still got tweets telling me that Masoli wasn't the guy. I have to feel at this point, if you're not behind Jeremiah Masoli as the starting quarterback of this team, there's nothing more he can do to change your mind.
No, you're right. I mean, if people don't like Jeremiah Masoli, I'm assuming it's got less to do with his play and the fact that he's just not an engaging person. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He's just not going to be front and center media type guy. He doesn't enjoy it, doesn't need to do it. Danny McManus never did it. Other quarterbacks I played with didn't have to do it, didn't want to do it. Jeremiah Masoli leads by example. For every mistake he makes 20 amazing plays that, unless you're kind of a trained observer, most quarterbacks don't make. His ability to throw the football, backpedaling, going side to side, off the wrong foot, across his body, is unbelievable, quite frankly. And but everybody picks on a pick he throws in the second quarter or something that goes wrong. That's just life. That's the way it is. But you're right, Louie. Jeremiah Masoli has proven that this guy can throw the football. When the numbers will show you at the end of the year, because my gut tells me he's going to be the all-time single-season Ticat quarterback in history. And there's some darn good names that are up there right now ahead of him that he's going to surpass.
Mike, when we talk about numbers, maybe we're not giving enough credit to the defense. I mean, clearly in that Edmonton win, the defense was rock solid in the second half. Yesterday, you could strip off 14 points due to turnovers, and that's not the defense's fault, really. So when you look at the defensive performance yesterday, it was pretty good, wasn't it?
It was good. They started strong. They had the quick 2-and-out, followed that up, I think, with like a 3-and-out, and then there was a couple bend but don't break moments there, and points that were given up on turnovers. But in all, when you look at how they played, I think they kept that offense in the game. They allowed the offense to get back on the field, to work through the kinks they're going through in that second and third quarter, and then come out with a terrific fourth quarter. That's all because of the play of the defense, in my opinion, getting the ball back, getting into the hands of the playmakers. If they were, a little bit more porous during those second and third quarters, this could have been a totally different outcome. But they held their own, and it's nice to see those kind of back-to-back tough defensive battles at home at Tim Hortons Field, because it's a place where, as we all know, that defense is key, and defense is the one that the fans go crazy for. And the hard-nosed defense the Cats have been playing the last few weeks has really done a great job.
Like, obviously, we're wishing the best for Jalen Saunders, and I don't want to speculate in terms of timeline, but if he's not ready to go, that's just kind of one small adjustment I think the Ticats would have to make. The Argos, on the other hand, probably have a lot of work to do in a short turnaround for Saturday's game.
They have a tremendous amount of work to do. Jerron Carter's not going to play. At least that's what was said last week. I anticipate that Coach Tresson will stick with that, so that takes away a playmaker. They've had some injuries, certainly on defense. Jalen Saunders is a big blow because it's tough to replace him. But with the way that Luke Tasker and the rest of the guys are playing, and Brandon Banks especially, there hasn't been any fall off. I mean, there's just a great amount of talent on the Ticats. They're too much power for the Argos. There really is no reason why the Cats shouldn't win again on Saturday. Everything being equal, I think if you stick with the game plan, you just execute the way that they did, and you try to clean up some of those mistakes in the second and third quarters, that this could be a game that is out of reach early. I would hope so. I think they should have the confidence going into BMO, knowing they're going to have probably more Ticat fans than Argo fans there, and probably able to do some damage.
Mike, thanks very much. Keep your eyes on the road, buddy.
All right. My pleasure, guys. Talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Mike Morreale.
Put him on the spot there.
Why?
Well, because you already said thanks very much, and then you followed it up with another thanks very
Always
much.
a pleasure. It's between me and him. He knows what that means.
I don't get it.
It's not for you to get. It's for him.
Yeah, but it's Tatti and Louie B.
You'll get something else later.
What a loser.
Oh, Guy, you're so hard on yourself. That's unbelievable. Oh, you got to back off. Don't drive yourself into the ground.
Yeah.
Kristen Schultner, Maple Leaf